Welcome back, guys. We're back for our third and final installment of installing the Grom wheel kit. What you should have left is your back hub, this plate, which you're going to have to take off to put onto the wheel, a spacer, and 4 nuts. We're going to show you about these later. What I recommend you do is take some blue tape and tape both sides of the wheels on the edges. You're going to do both of them. So, this came off your old wheel. Yours is not going to look like this. Yours is probably going to look like this. So, what you have to do is drill these out, bang this open. It takes a long time. So instead of doing that, we're just going to go ahead and include in the kit the same sprocket, 34 tooth sprocket, steel, not aluminum. This way you don't have to do any of this. It comes with a kit. It's already in it. Don't ask us to take it out because it's coming anyways. We're already have them pre-packaged. You should have this, and then also you need to take off the cushions off your back wheel, and these are going to have little nuts on them. We're going to show you what we have to do. We're including some nuts because we actually have to cut this off because it's pretty close to the wheel, and we're going to show you some other things that you can do to that as well. So first, what we're going to do is talk to you about your swing arm. This is a brand new swing arm that we purchased from Honda, and the measurement is 9 1/4. It's never been installed. If your swing arm is less than that, it's usually from someone putting a kickstand here, like an aftermarket kickstand, and a lot of times people lean on their bike as they're talking, and what that does is twist this in. So that's what this jack comes in. On some of the ones that we have installed, we actually have to put a jack in here to open this up, and it will make your installation a lot easier. It's like $19 for this jack, and it's good just to have around. So if you do have a jack, you need a small one. We'll put the size and the link of where to get this. We got it at Harbor Freight. I think it was like 17 bucks or something like that. You're going to need a little piece of wood as well so you don't damage your paint. But typically what happens, you put it on the stock wheel, you tighten it up to the specs, and it brings these in. Once you put the swing arms, as it gets longer, it brings it in even more. So you are going to have to open these up most likely, and we'll show you how to do that. You're going to have your old brake rotor. We're going to put this on the wheel. Your axle left. You're going to have 2 spacers. They're both the same size. You're just going to need one of them. We'll use this one right here, not the flanged one. You're going to have this boss, which goes in here, just like this, that we're going to reuse. And it's a spacer. We decided not to use cheap bearings. We use $14 bearings that we get. They're not made in China. We press them in. There's a shaft that goes in here as well, so that when you tighten up, the bearing is not going to get pushed through. So there is a shaft here and inside of the front hub as well. So we're going to take a pause, and then we're going to jump back in.
Okay, so next up we're going to be putting the hub into the wheel. Right here. The hub already had all the hardware in it. We just took it out so we can mount it. So the lesser of the dish side is going to be the sprocket side. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the hub and go put it down in here like so. And you're going to have 4 M10 button heads. And it's going to go from the dish side in, and you line it up. And of course you're going to put red Loctite on these. And you're going to put these 4 in.
Now you have to take this part off because it will not fit through the hole of the wheel.
Next up, you're going to have the face like this for your rotor. Now you can see there's multiple holes in here, and I'll go over that later once we go over the rotor. First, what you're going to do is line up these 4 holes on here with the 4 that's on the hub existing. And again, you're just going to go ahead and put some Loctite on these and then put them through. Okay, so now you have the hub on and installed with the rotor adapter.
And you will tighten these up first before you put this on, so this way you can get in there with an extension. Next you're going to do is put on your rotor. And again, this has an arrow, so here's an arrow on your tire. It's going to be the same way. And what we're going to do is make sure that it fits here. So it goes only one way, and the way that it's going to go is it's going to be covering this bolt here. So there's no way that that bolt can ever back out because the rotor covers it.
So it's kind of a nice little safety feature we have here to make sure that you're not going to lose the rotor or get some wobble like that.
And the other one's for a different rotor style. But this bolt pattern is the same as your OEM Honda. We're just going to put 2 of these in because this is going to be the same way. We're going to leave it loose. We're not going to put these all the way in. Kind of just finger tight here. Here's your pads. And you go in just like this. Okay, let's see if I can get this off. Now you're not going to use these. So yours will look like this. You're going to get rid of that. Put the new supplied one on just like this. Make sure that these holes are recessed. And you're going to use the supplied nylocks. And you're going to use red Loctite, and you have to use red Loctite. So 13 mil. Okay, when you have this on, we are going to shave these using a cutoff wheel. We're going to take these off so it's flush with this. There's a more advanced way that you can do this, and we're going to show you what needs to be done. It takes 2 people. But if you don't want to shave these, or if you don't have a cutoff wheel, you need some elbow grease. Either a good set of vice grips or 2 8mm nuts and a 12-point socket. So this is what yours would look like. And what we're going to do is we're going to remove these studs. So you can either do it with this and clamp it on. I'll show you here what we're talking about. You clamp this. This one's already been removed. Just like this. Make sure it's nice and tight. And it's going to take either, you're going to have to put this on a vise with a good bench or have somebody hold it and take these off. These do have green Loctite on them from the factory. They are not easy to remove. It does take somebody with some pretty good strength to take these off. You're going to take all 4 of them off. And what you would do is get 4 button heads. This is what it would look like. M8 by 1.25 by 30mm long. And you would run these inside just like this until you run all 4 of them on. So let's see here. Again, you're going to use Loctite as well. There's still Loctite in this.
Now, this method that he's doing right now is only if you choose not to grind down the excess slack. So once you put these nuts on, you're going to have a little bit extra room, and that's where you're going to be cutting off the excess studs. So if you didn't want to cut the studs off, that's when you're going to go to that method and pull the...
This is the easier way. This way, believe it or not, it's pretty hard. It takes, like I said, 2 people. One person to really hold this real tight. You put it on a big vise to get those studs out. And then you're going to put in the bolts that we recommend, or a flat head bolt. This is the most common one. It's going to be a button head that you can typically pick up at Ace Hardware or Fastenal. And we don't include it because not everybody's going to do this. We're not going to do it. We're going to show you. We're going to grind these off using a cutoff wheel. So this is what it would look like. You're going to take these studs off. And this is what yours is typically look like. Another thing that you're going to do is you're going to remove this dust seal. So you're going to take a flat tip screwdriver, either a thin one or a thick one, whatever you have. You're going to pop that right off. Now you're going to use this. This is a bushing that we have. It's a spacer, and it's CNC'd perfectly. So that's going to be the space that you're going to use. So what we're going to do is grind these off using this, and then we'll come back and we'll put this back onto the hub. You know what, we forgot something. So we talked about the vice grips. Another way you can do it's a little bit easier. You can use a double nut method. Put this on. Put this on. You're getting a 13mm wrench. Like this.
It's going to go on the bottom nut.
You're going to tighten this against the other one really tight. Once you have that, I don't know if you can zoom in.
Gotcha.
That's where the 12-point comes in, because you're going to have to get past both of those and then take this off. And you would do it on all 4, and then once you get them off, you're just going to have the stud, and the stud's going to have the 2 nuts on them, and then you have to break the stud loose with the other one. So this way is a little bit easier, but not everybody has the 12-point socket. So, but most people have trusty vice grips. And make sure that these teeth are really good. They're not rounded up. Don't go into grandfather's drawer and get something that's been beat up and used for 20 years.
Okay, so now we're back at the bike. Next thing we're going to do is going to take out this bolt right here that holds the caliper adapter bracket. We're going to remove that nut and bolt right now.
Your tool has a nut on it. It's the same size. Or a hole. Just take this off. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the caliper off of the bracket.
So on the back side here, you have this one nut. And I believe it's a 12 mil. And go ahead and break this free. Take that nut off, and then this will slide over, and then
You are going to have to bend your little tab to get this off. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see this. We'll move the camera over a little bit. We have the cushions in, this needs to be flush, so if it's not going in, make sure that the cushions are in. We went ahead and grinded down these. We took the dust cover off. It's going to go on this side. And here's the spacer. It's going to go right here. So I'm going to flip this around.
and then this spacer is going to go on this.
Now remember, this should also have this round spacer here as well. It goes in like this. Just like that. Just like this. We left this loose so that we can put it on. Okay, this is why it takes two people. We're kind of going to leave this here. You're going to take your round pieces, stick them in, like so.
Talk about these here.
Your axle. Okay, so whenever something's here, some of you guys, your space is not going to be wide enough, and you're going to say, oh, there's no way this wheel fits. Well, it fits. And this is why we're going to use, we don't have to do it on ours because we've never really have had this kickstand on. It's not a lot of miles on this bike, even though it's a 2014. So what we typically do is we put a bottle jack on here to open this up, and we put it right in between here like this to open it up. He's going to hold this, put this right here with a piece of wood.
You can see right now it might be hard to on camera, but we've actually opened this up a fair amount.
So we're going to go ahead now and put on these spacers and this as well. So you're going to put this spacer in and this as well.
And this slides. You can see it has a groove section, and that's where the rotor is going to get in between. I'm going to line it up like that. Put the other spacer in first. This way you have it in place.
Now we need to tighten this up real quick, because once you have that on, go ahead and put it in. So we will actually rotate it.
So it's out of the way. There we go.
Yep.
Alright, so now we're going to push the axle in. Get it through to the other side. Oh.
Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to show you guys something. Inside here is that spacer. That spacer has to be on this side. It cannot be on this inside of this extension. It has to be on this side, and that's what the jack is there for. So it will actually give you some room, because a lot of times if it's not open enough, it will hang up on there and will not allow this to sit flush or close to being flush. So we have to have this flush. Once we get that done, I'm going to put the nut on just temporarily. Here, make sure on this side these two pieces are at top. I'm going to show you what we need to do. So we're going to put this back on. That's why that jack is still there, because we're going to put it in, and it gives you some room. So he's going to push this bolt out a little bit. There you go. Now you can put that nut back on. If it was too tight, it would be really hard to put that on. Once we get everything done, then we can let this loose. Again, that's what the tape is for, because a lot of times you try to force everything in and it messes up your wheel. So it's good just to take some extra time and use blue tape. So now that we have that in, we're going to go ahead and put the brakes, but you have to put the clips back on because they actually fell out. Alright, we're going to go ahead and put the brake caliper back in. We're going to take this off so we can take this out. Just remember how the clips go. This is probably the hardest part out of all, so take this out. Take this out. Make sure that you have your anti-squeal part on. So we have to loosen this off. I totally forgot about this. Have to loosen this out like this, because this has to drop.
It's going to drop the rotor down so you can fit it.
You got to do both of them.
Yeah, I've got them holding the rotor so it doesn't scrape. You can drop it down.
There's two pins.
Slide it in.
Then you can put this back on.
Remember, you want it to line up where it's blocking the, for the specific rotor, it's blocking the adapter bolts from backing out.
And you're going to put red Loctite. We always do this first, and then we come back and put red Loctite on everything.
Yep.
Okay, so the other shield was already in. Just slide these brake pads in. Just like this. This. You gotta put this piece in. Just like this. Just like that. That holds the pressure.
Insert the pin back in and then tighten it back up.
And there's a little tiny dust cap that goes on top too. Do not put Loctite on that, just make it tight. Put this back on.
And you have that little nut that was on the back side of it originally. And you'll be able to get to that with the open-ended, I believe it was a 12 mil. I'll tighten that up from the back.
I'm going to put in Put those in, I can't see
Yep.
too good.
Put into the other 2 rotor bolts right now.
And while he's working on that, I'm going to put the chain on, kind of on the top, and then we're going to rotate the wheel backwards.
And now that we have everything on, we can remove the bottle jack. It served its purpose.
If you don't do this, you're going to fight and fight and fight, and you're going to scratch your rim up. We've done this so many times. This is the best way. And originally what we did is when we did it with 2018, it was short. That's why we actually purchased a brand new swing arm so we could actually take the measurement off of it. Because on the other test bike that we did on the 2018, it was smaller and it was from somebody leaning on the jack. So we're going to go ahead and turn this wheel. Make sure that it's out of gear.
He's just feeding the chain right now.
And I think we need to loosen it up some. Oh, we need to take this jack out because it's actually rubbing against the chain. So I'm going to go ahead and...
Got it.
Okay, now that we got the chain on.
Just going to fasten up these rotor bolts now. And now would be a time that you would Loctite them up. You can hear all that tape. So next what we're going to want to do is line up these marks on the swing arm extension, kind of like when you did in our install video for the swing arm, to make sure that the axle is perfectly straight. And when you do that, you have these M8 nuts that are in the back, or these M8 socket heads, and that's going to secure you. So once one end's in position, you'll secure it, and then the other guy's going to match up, or the other side will match up, and then you're going to secure that one in. See on this side, we've adjusted it to 12 o'clock. And then same on this side. And what this does is make sure the wheel is centered. And the next thing and last thing we're going to do is now tighten up the axle.
So it's a 19 on one side, or you could use your wrench. On the other side we believe is a 14. Okay, we got this in. Let's see here. Everything looks good.
We're at 12 here.
Okay. So let's see if I can get. So see how we grinded this pull here for the clearance. So there's plenty of clearance on both sides. It's about a 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch. You need to put Loctite on this. Now what you can do is you can back it on that side a little bit and push this in to give you some more, but we definitely put a lot of Loctite on there. And we'll adjust it a little bit. So here's your chain. We're at 12 o'clock on both sides. If you have this kickstand, most likely it is going to hit on decel. So what you have to do is take this and move it all the way to the end here, so that, and make sure that your chain is tight, so that when you go decel it doesn't hit that. It will, if you leave it like this, because it's so close, it will start hitting it and make a noise. So just want to let you know that if you do have this, you need to put it all the way to the back here. We're going to go ahead and put Loctite on everything, take off the tape, make sure everything's good, and then we'll be right back. Okay, we got everything together. We've moved the kickstand all the way back. to this piece right here, and let's get a rest on that bolt there. Remember, red Loctite. Because it is at the very back and on a straight, you might have to put some double-sided tape on there to prevent it from rattling if you don't like noise. But this is it. Everything's nice. Again, if you wanted these to have more space just for comfort, you could use those button heads. Again, they're M8 by 1.25 by 30, but we've ran this hundreds and hundreds of miles, I think 1,500 miles, with no issues. We'll show you the other side. Remember, before you take a ride, to pump your brakes. This is the other side. And that's it. Pretty simple. We highly recommend that you use the bottle jack. If you don't, you're going to be fighting yourself, and it's $14, $15, I think $17 or something like that. Actually, if you can give me the part number, we'll put it on our link too on the description, video description. But Harbor Freight part number 66450 is the smallest jack, bottle jack that they make. Super simple to use. A piece of wood, cardboard, and that's it. Again, what do we say?
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I know you guys have been waiting for these wheels, so they're finally here.
Yep, we'll have them online when this video comes out. Thanks for watching.